Camden. I hope you're doing well. I've been traveling full-time for over 3 years now, and these are 10 things that I wish I had learned a little bit earlier, so let's see how many you know. First thing is when you're paying for something abroad, typically you swipe your card and you're met with, oh, you have the option to pay in US dollars or local currency. And most Americans think, hey, this is so nice, they're letting me pay in US dollars, let's go with that option. No, that's not what you want to do. You always want to pick the local currency, and here's why. When you pick the US dollar amount, what ends up happening is that payment processor, you're allowing them to do the conversion and they take some margin on top of that. So what that all means is you're gonna end up paying somewhere between 2 and 6% more than if you just said, no, I'll pay in local currency and I'll let my bank back home do that currency conversion, and you will have a much better rate. So save yourself some money and always pick the local currency. Next tip, let's say you're flying from London to LAX and you need a friend or family to pick you up from the airport. Well, rather than sending them your flight info and hoping that they track it correctly and show up at the right time, instead, just open your iPhone and go to the text messages, and let's say you're on American Airlines flight 137. Now you can just type in AA137 for that airline code. Now when you send that off, you'll notice it's underlined, which means they can click directly on that text and preview the flight. They can track it live time. Now whoever is picking you up will be there on time, so make sure you do that. Now this next tip is brand new and it saved me last week. Let's say you're in Budapest and you're trying to buy something and it's 10,000 Hungarian forint, which is the currency there, and you have no idea what that is in US dollars. Well, instead of having to do a Google search, just open up your calculator app. If you've downloaded iOS 18, which means your phone is updated to the latest firmware, if you look at the bottom left-hand section of your calculator app, it looks like there's a smaller calculator. Click on that and you'll notice at the bottom there's something called Convert. Toggle that on, and now I can just type in 10,000 Hungarian forint and say, oh, this is actually $28. Great, now you know. By the way, if any of these have been helpful and you want more tips like this, these are all coming directly from my newsletter, which goes out every single Tuesday, where I share a tip of the week, something that I've learned while I'm out on the road. It's completely free. A link is in the description if you want to sign up, and if you're watching at home, you can also scan this QR code to sign up there. But the next tip is if you're somewhere abroad, let's say Italy, and you're at a nice Italian restaurant and oh gosh, the menu is in Italian, and you don't want to be that tourist who's like, hi, can I have an English menu? Well, here's my workaround for that. Just open your phone and make sure that you have Google Lens available. When you open it up, it's going to be defaulted to the search option, but at the bottom left, you'll notice something called Translate. Hit that option and then just take a picture of the menu. It will automatically translate that Italian or whatever language it is directly into English, so now you don't have to be that annoying tourist. For that to work, you are going to need internet. And when abroad, I get that it can be a challenge having internet. I have found a workaround for that as well. There's something called an eSIM, which is basically a way for you to pre-purchase data before you ever leave for your trip. That way when you land, your phone works because you will have paid access on those networks. There are really two companies that I recommend, and I do have affiliate links, so this is kind of sponsored in a way. Airalo is my go-to. I've used them all over the world. They are great. They are a little bit more expensive, but for somebody who travels full-time like me, it's really useful because they have a really good app. But if you are looking for a cheaper alternative, there's another competitor called SimLocal. Now they did ask me to review, and I tested it out in 4 different countries: the Netherlands, Iceland, Sweden, and Denmark, and it worked great in all of those. Really fast speeds. It will save you a few bucks compared to Airalo. If you are looking for a cheaper way than letting your carrier at home charge you every single day that you're abroad, looking at you, Verizon, that $10 a day is ridiculous, then you might want to try out one of those. Again, affiliate links are down below, and it supports this channel if you use those links. Now, this next tip is a big money saver if you're somebody who really likes to do tours when you first get to a city. Let's say you're in Slovenia, in the capital of Ljubljana. Rather than paying for an expensive tour, you can just go to Google and type in Ljubljana free tour, and you'll notice the first option that pops up is, hey, there's a daily free walking tour that's completely free. Now, the people that are giving the tours do work on a tip basis, so it is definitely good to give them some money, but it's going to be way cheaper than booking an official tour. And pretty much every city in the world has these, and they are a great free resource if you're on a budget. Now, this next tip is something that I avoided for a long time, but I finally bought in, and I do think it is well worth it, and that is putting air tags in all of your luggage and bags AirTags just to make sure that you know where everything is at all times. Just think of the little AirTag as a personal GPS. So wherever that little AirTag goes, you'll know because your phone will show you. So if it's in your luggage, you'll always know where your luggage is at. They really do provide quite a bit of peace of mind, and I can't imagine traveling without it. So I do have another link in the description if you want to check those out on Amazon. Also, question for you. I imagine you might have known that last one. I don't think you're going to know these next 3, but I'm curious at the end of the video, how many of these 10 tips were you already aware of? Let me know in the comment section. But this next one is a big money saver, especially if you're somebody who likes to use Airbnbs for vacation. We all know it gets pretty pricey. What a lot of people don't know is that most Airbnb listings, or at least a lot of them, are operated by an official management company. So what you can do is, once you're on Airbnb and you find a listing that you like, look at the host profile, and they typically aren't trying to say, hey, go use our website, but they'll leave hints. Like this one in Cape Town is Clifton YOLO Spaces. So what we're gonna do is just Google Clifton YOLO Spaces and see what comes up, and sure enough, they do have a whole website. So go and find that specific unit, pick the exact same days, and let's see the price difference. So on Airbnb, that's showing that it's gonna be just about $3,000 for a week stay. Not cheap. If you're doing this vacation, good for you. So November 4th through November 11th, we've got 46,185 ZAR. Obviously we need to do a conversion, handy tip for that calculator app. And now we can see that that is 2,674 US dollars. So we're actually saving over $300 by just booking directly through the management agency. It can really save you some cash if you do put in that little bit of extra effort. I've saved thousands of dollars every single year, and I use this all the time, and I couldn't recommend it more. Now, this next tip can definitely solve a big problem that I think most international travelers have faced at some point. See if this sounds familiar. You get to another country and you have the travel adapter, you plug it into the wall, but it just doesn't quite fit right. Might be a little bit too heavy, it's kind of popping out of the socket, and it's just so annoying. I have 2 solutions for this. The first one is this thing, which I think I picked off of Amazon. It's called Napika. This is a pretty good travel adapter. I've used this for a lot of years, and it was always solid and stayed in the wall better than most. And I think it was like 20 bucks. Good option. But that is not what I do anymore. My new way of doing this, which has just like changed everything for me, I splurged and I got this thing. If you're an Apple user, basically, you know how you have like the cubes here, right? What this pack does is it gives you the adapter where on the cube, this is my US part, right? You could just pop that off and say, hey, I'm going to Europe. I'm gonna attach my Europe adapter. Voila, I'm all set. So now I don't even have to carry around the big clunky one. I just carry around my main one and it fits into the wall. Perfect, all problems solved. I know it's a really nitpicky and small problem, but this has really changed the game for me, and I don't think I can ever go back. So link will be in the description for both of those items, because again, this one does work pretty well and it is cheaper. This one I'd recommend if you want to splurge and if you're spending a lot more time abroad. So feel free to do your research on those. Now, this final tip is so important for anybody who's ever been scammed abroad. And yes, you can of course do things to prevent yourself from being scammed, but if you do spend a lot of time abroad, chances are you're going to run into problems at some point. So see if this sounds familiar. This was my experience. I booked with a budget airline, everything seemed legit, and all of a sudden it came time to the flight, I needed to make a change. I was following all the rules, but the airline just stopped responding. They took my money, I couldn't get on the flight, I was following all the rules, and I was just out of luck. Well, this is where the tip comes in. Instead, just make sure that you're paying for those bigger ticket items on a credit card and call your bank back home, tell them what happened, and what they'll do is end up doing a reverse charge to that merchant, meaning to that airline, and force the airline's bank to make sure that the airline has to prove that you, the customer, were in the wrong. Now, in my case, I had all my documents and I was playing by the rules, so my bank was able to show their bank, no, the airline did something sketchy here, and they refunded me all the money. So if you do find yourself unfortunately scammed, don't try dealing with that scammer. Call your bank, let them deal with it. It's gonna save you a lot of time, a lot of headaches, and trust me, your bank will get to the bottom of it because they don't like when somebody else messes with their own customers' money. So let them do the heavy lifting and you go enjoy the rest of your vacation. But I'm curious, how many of these did you already know? Leave them in the comment section down below. And if you want 10 completely different tips, click on this video right here. If you got questions, leave them in the comment section. I hope this was helpful, and we'll catch you guys next time.